Hello, my name is Samuel Dowley, and today we're going to talk about the truth, the brutal truth, just the straight up truth. What is. If you're chosen, you probably come along and seen this video. If you're not chosen yet, then you're probably gonna be chosen if you're seeing this video. Um, so what we got to talk about first of all is the truth, just the straight out truth, the things that people don't want to talk about. And this channel will be dedicated to talking about the things that people don't want to talk about at all. At all. All right? The things that people are too guilty to talk about, the things that people are too afraid to talk about. Those are the things that we're going to talk about on this channel. And we're going to explore together. We're going to explore together and we're going to learn together. And as I go on my journey and share with you what I've discovered for myself, you're going to discover more things for yourself through what I say. And together we'll explore, and together we'll learn things. I am not preaching to you. I am not telling you what's up, but I'm telling you my analysis of the situation at hand, which is the existence that we live in. So, all right, where do I start? Where do I start? I think where we should start at is just on the basic level, basically what this world is, what this world that we live in is. What it really is is something that many people will, if you say this, if you say anything remotely conspiratorial, you'll get bashed for it completely, because this world is basically a corporation. It's basically a corporation where the biggest criminals, the people who succeeded in crime, who had the biggest and toughest brothers and could take over and scare people, those people are the ones in charge nowadays. All right, the smartest manipulators and the biggest and toughest guys, those people are the ones in charge. And what the governments and the corporations basically say is, let's see how we can get them to work for us. Let's see how we can do it. And there's been a surefire method to get the masses to work for them, and to see the world that we live in a completely not opposite, but a completely vague, undiscerning, and strange way when compared to the way reality actually is. They have trained us since birth, as you know. Our parents do a great job of training us, but then education does it better. When they sent us to mandatory education camp, which is school. All right, doesn't matter what it's called, doesn't matter how it's presented, it's still school. And it'll teach you whatever they want in whatever way they want. Doesn't matter. It's all to manipulate you. It's all to make you a worker. So the goal initially with education was make everybody literate. That was the image for the people not in charge, for the people who didn't who are not on the secret group running the entire world. Make everybody literate. That's a great idea. Educate everybody, right? Oh my God, what a good idea. And then what's his name from The Simpsons? The billionaire. The billionaire like this, with the pointy nose. People like that will say, "Oh yeah, we'll educate them, all right," and they educate us to be workers for the corporation. And basically, all the countries in the world are different sectors of the corporation. And I'll tell you one thing. I'll start from the beginning. Actually, to the best of my knowledge, I'll tell you what happened with the earth and what the earth really is. So we call this, as far as I know, I've watched channeling from Jesus, from Yeshua, and he described the earth as the great experiment, where they took beings from different star systems, different planetary systems, and brought them to Earth because they wanted to create a civilization and see how that would go. So they brought all these different souls and genetics to Earth, and they seeded humanity. And this experiment has been going on. You know, when Atlantis fell, that was the last one, and then they had to restart after that. So they've been doing this, and then this is a new round. When, as far as we know, with Northern Africa and then the Middle East, where it started and then spread off. And then they, so this is a new round after Atlantis and Lemuria fell. So what they did was basically, you know how the Chinese people look different from the blacks, and then the blacks look different from the Europeans, and the Europeans look different from the Native Americans, and then the South Native Americans, and the Latin Americans, everywhere. So there are different genetics from different star systems. And welcome to the red pill, huh? So these people, the gods basically, they made a bet. Let's see if these different beings from different star systems can get along. And so they tried. And that's what we have today. And so they seeded these humans, and the first rule of it was we cannot interfere with it. There can be no interference. We gotta let it play out. Unless they have weapons of mass destruction, we can't, like a nuclear bomb, and they're threatening to use it, we cannot interfere. Because we can't destroy the planet. So they couldn't interfere, and they let the civilizations play out. However, some aliens, I'm not sure if they were consumed by darkness, consumed by illusion. I heard that Wutaki, or there's just a central dark force in the universe that consumes the minds of different alien species. And the Anunnaki and the reptilians came, and they saw this opportunity with the pious and young and unwise and just baby humans. And they were like, oh, we can so profit off of this. So the Anunnaki initially wanted the gold. And so they wanted to enslave the entire human race with gold. And they did so, and they were able to. And then they left because, they have their own affairs to deal with. But they left certain people in charge. And the reptilians, the reptiles are doing a great job with that. And they seeded the royal families of all the world, and all the Western world, basically, as far as I know. And so they psychologically control these humans. And they talk about it in the Bible as the original Lord, as the Anunnaki kings and the reptilians, whatever. And they've been doing this for years and years and years. And the goal is to control human civilization. You control the experiment. And then the good aliens can't interfere because there's no way that, because the rule is you can't interfere unless they're going to destroy themselves or destroy the planet. So the reptilians are able to take over, and their goal was to enslave us, basically, and make us as miserable and as confused and fearful as possible, so that interdimensionally, on a higher level, they can use our energy, our chakra system. And and when one chakra is closed, the energy disperses outwards, outwards out of the body. Whereas when all the chakras are open, it's flowing like a pipe system, right? It's going up and down, and it's coming through the universe and out through the bottom, and it's completely flowing. And the human is not losing energy, but it's actually retaining it and gaining it, But when one chakra is closed, let's say the root chakra, and what is the root chakra closed because of? Because of fear. So you got these humans afraid. They close their root chakra, close their solar plexus or something like that, and the energy disperses throughout their body, and that energy can be sucked up. So throughout history, it's been like Syria, Egypt. Egypt was a very spiritual place, but it's been taken over. So there's been Egypt, and then Greece, and then they want to try the whole democracy thing, and then Rome. They want to try democracy there too. And Rome was more of a prototype for the real thing, and the real thing was supposed to set up for the next thing. And so Rome was a prototype for the United States, because the United States was supposed to be the next Rome. And it is the next Rome. It's basically what it is. And the goal is to create a one world government and kill off the human species. Because if we get along, then we're going to be a huge species in the cosmos, a huge fifth dimensional species in the cosmos. And we're going to be a threat to the darkness, so we're going to destroy the darkness eventually. So if we all get along, then we're going to look back on these times and we're going to be like, those problems were illusion. We're going to laugh at what we're struggling with now. And we're going to go on to the bigger stuff. And we're going to look back at the reptilians and be like, that was nothing. So the reptilians want to create a one world government and kill us off, so they can centralize the power and make sure everybody's under control, and then reduce the population so there's not too many people to deal with. They still want their workers, right? So the United States is Rome 2.0. And so basically, in the meantime, what they want to do is they want to control humans using not only force, but psychological warfare. And how you control someone is not typically through guns or tanks or the sword, but it's through the word of mouth and the image. Mm-hmm. So the Christian church did a great job of that. They destroyed Alexandria and all the Hermetic knowledge, the paganistic knowledge, and all that. And the Christian church decided to take over and reestablish the image of reality for how it is. So to give the grandfather figure of God, and to make God actually unattractive to people, so they would turn away from God. Even if they say, "Oh yes, I'm with God," they're really not. They're really just doing that because they're afraid of the tyrant, which is God, which is presented, And then, "Oh, I'm so guilty. Look at how much Jesus has done for me. Look at how much he's done for me. I should be so guilty. What am I doing? I'm doing nothing. Who am I?" So they instill guilt in people. And so they wanted to reestablish the entire way we see reality itself, so that we're not a creator, but we're rather a created being as a servant to a tyrant God, which rules the universe. And that creates atheists nowadays. People become an atheist because they're in opposition of the Christian ideal, and that's the whole point of the Christian church, is to make God look so unattractive and look so boring and lame, and make Jesus look so lame and unattractive that it turns people away from what would actually save them. So the whole point was to control these people, and if you control them through fear and make them afraid of death. Now, death is the bogey, right? Death is what we're afraid of, because we got all these illusions about the afterlife or no afterlife. And then we see dead bodies at funerals and we say, that's what death is like? I don't want to be a dead body. We got that image in our head. So we're really afraid of death, even though death wouldn't be like experiencing darkness. But death is non-experience. How would you experience something if you're dead? So it would be nothingness, right? So there's no one to be afraid, no one to experience. It's complete freedom. Nothingness. It wouldn't be like locked in a dark room forever. You wouldn't experience anything because you don't exist after you're dead. So that's the logic. But people, if you make them afraid of death, right? You can say, if you don't follow what we do, if you don't follow what we say, then we'll either kill you, or if you don't follow what we say, then you could be killed, or you'll kill yourself. And then everybody's like, okay, I'll do whatever you say. I'll do whatever you say because we're afraid of death. We're afraid of not existing. And so, yeah. So you educate people to be afraid of death. Exist for as long as you can. Hold on. Even though death is inevitable, and in accepting death, you actually overcome it. But people are very pious. They're also very fearful. They're also very trusting in authority. So whatever authority says, you go along with. Because the goal of the reptilians, basically, I'll just get to this, is to steal our energy, to enslave us and steal our energy. And you can see the symbols of the reptilians in the corporations. So if you see in food trucks, I know of a food truck where it's like the world in a cage, and then it's got two little leaves on it representing an apple. You'll see the world in a cage on United Airlines, and different you'll see the world in a cage, right? What do you think the world in a cage mean? With the grid lines, that's really a cage. And then you'll see Chase Bank. What do you think chase means? What are you chasing for? You're always chasing the wheel of samsara. So that's what the Chase Bank logo is. So you'll see the Google Chrome eye. You'll see the eye a lot. I'm watching you. The scope. If you have scope floss picks, it's like an eye on the logo, a red eye. Yeah, it's a reptilian eye. I'm watching you. You're telling your subconscious, we're watching you. We know. So their goal basically was to create a population of pious and indifferent human beings who are spiritually dead in order to steal their energy. And again, as I said, if one of the chakras are closed, especially the heart, because you stop loving the world that you live in, because the establishment tells you that the world is something that's not, is just boring, is just nothing. You close your heart to it. You're like, why should I be awake for this life? If I suffer and this life hurts and the energy is intense, then why not close myself off to the world and go to sleep for it? And that's what people fall asleep for life. So and that's how you can steal someone's energy. So their plan was to create a population as big as possible, and then as many people in fear and controlled as possible, so they can steal as much energy as possible. For the reptilians are working for the archons, and then the corporations are working for the billionaires are working for the reptilians. So that's the world we live in, and essentially we all live in a corporation. I'll tell you about the United States. So the European nations came from Rome, and then Rome fell, and then the Catholic Church was established, and the Catholic Church, the Roman Catholic Empire, established its influence in different kingdoms, right? Because the reptilians had their influence in the Prussian monarchy and Austrian monarchy, British monarchy, Spanish monarchy, everywhere. They had their royalty there because it's the reptilians, and they shapeshift. So in the period of colonialization after the Dark Ages, these nations established themselves, and they said, okay, we're gonna wait to colonize the world. We're just gonna wait until the go. And then the go is when Christopher Columbus gives the go. Okay? And then that's when we start. So the Spanish tried establishing, and all their goal was to establish the new Rome. And so the Holy Roman Empire was influencing all of these empires, and they said, which one of you is going to create our empire? Will it be you, British, or will it be you, Spanish? Will it be you, Dutch, or you, Prussians? You, Portuguese, or you, Italian? Let's see. Which one of you will establish our new Rome, the Holy Roman Empire, which is the Catholic Church? So the Spanish tried it in Mexico and in Texas and South America. It didn't really work out halfway. And then Mexico turned into like just kind of more of an experiment than an empire. And then the British and the French tried it in Canada and then the United States, and the British ended up winning out. And then they made deals with the French, whatever. But the British were the ones to establish the new Rome. And can you guess what the new Rome was? Oh, it was the United States. So the United States is the new Rome, the new Babylon. You can see the Lady Liberty is the same as a Babylonian lady, the same thing. You can look up a Babylonian statue of a lady. It's the same lady. Lady Liberty, Statue of Liberty, Statue of Freedom, whatever that means. So what happened with the colonies? Jamestown originally was in itself a corporation, was a plantation. And all the colonies were plantations and corporations in themselves. People were just working for. So I think I already said this, but the governments, they figure, let's see, we need to get them to work for us. So how can we get them to work for us? So basically, each country is its own corporation. And so the British, established the colonies and whatever, and they were ruling it, and then they figured, all right, so anything could happen. We need to manifest destiny, and these people are not gonna be as enthused, as passionate about the project, about manifesting destiny, about conquering the entire land. They're not going to be as passionate about it. They're not going to be as involved in it if they think that it's still the British land, because like the British, that's like an old thing. Like, yeah, we've been working for you for hundreds of years, for 700 years. Like, so like no one's going to be excited about working for the British still. But you're going to be excited about working for a new country, for your own country that you and your ancestors took place in establishing and fighting for. Right? So the British are smart, and what they did was their operatives ruling the banks and the government and the colonies. They knew that the king he had a plan. He was gonna tax them, he was gonna abuse the people, and then the people, like George Washington, Ben Franklin, all those people running the colonies, knew about this, and they essentially said, hey, look at what the British are doing. They're being dicks. We need to fuck them up. We need to start a revolution right now. We've been oppressed by them. We've been all this. We've been taxed. No taxation without representation. We've been abused. Look, they're shooting our people. We need to fight, and we need to fight for our freedom, because this is not their land anymore. It's our land. And everybody's like, yeah, because they're being abused. But they're being abused on purpose so that they would want to revolt. So the British, while fighting their Napoleonic wars or their French wars, whatever was going on at that time. They sent over their mock armies, their how do you say it? Their decoy armies, right? That are meant to lose. So they sent over their armies, and they went to battle all gentlemanly style, even though all gentlemanly style in rows and everything. And they fought like a gentleman, even though the Americans were fighting guerrilla style and everything, which would definitely win against fighting like a gentleman. The British Army is basically the whole plan for it was that the operatives working in the colonies were on the side of the British. They're still the British people. They're still working for the British. And the British started taxing them and abusing them on purpose to get the people angry. And when the people were angry, the operatives working like George Washington said, "Hey, look at what they're doing," because they knew they were going to do it. And and then they said, "Hey, look at what they're doing. You guys are pissed, right? Yeah, we're pissed. All right, let's go fight for our own country. Yeah!" So they all destroyed the British decoy army, and then they won the war. And the British were supposed to lose. And then Benedict Arnold was a traitor because he knew that the British were supposed to lose. And they were like, "Our boys in red," he had a heart, basically, because those boys were going to have to slaughter. The British people, the British soldiers were going to be slaughtered. And he was like, this is so immoral. This is terrible. We can't just kill them. So he knew the plan, and that the people he was working for were actually faking being a revolutionist, but were actually working for the British. And then so he tried exposing that, but then he got called a traitor because the British doesn't want their plan exposed, because it's their whole colonies are resting on this plan, right? Convincing the people that they're creating their new country, but it's really still the British's. So they defeated the British, and then once that was over, 1812 happened, and then what a better patriotic moment, what a better inspiring moment than the British, the enemy, asserting that they're the enemy, showing that they're really the enemy, and that we're really our own country. So because they burnt down the White House, the house of our leader. Whoa! They burnt down the White House. The ultimate act of attack, showing this is definitely not still the British's country. See, the British did this, and so they needed the people to get as patriotic as possible about their own country in order to manifest destiny and conquer the world and conquer that land. So, and genocide the Indians. So they did, and the plan worked out perfectly. And the British still control the United States, the United Kingdom. The United States is under the United Kingdom, and it's the same colors on the flag. And and if you even look it up, you can see that this land is actually still the king's land. Legally, it's still the land of the king. So the British established the United States by doing a fake revolution and getting the people to think that they were establishing their own country, but they were actually being fooled, and that country they were establishing was just another part of the United Kingdom, Britain. So the United States is just a big corporation run by the Queen. It's still the Queen's land. We just have different accents. We just have a different culture, but we're still. That's why we call it the Queen. That's why we call them the royal family. The prince. It's the prince. It's the Queen. Our Queen. The Queen. Why don't we say their queen? It's the queen. We see in the magazines, the queen. Oh, what do you mean the queen? The queen of us? Why don't we say Britain's queen? So if you were confused at this at all, I'll just say it one more time. The United States in itself is still run by the British. The British established the new Rome, which is the United States. And the United States was founded only based off of the enthusiasm and the psychological tactics and tricks used by instilling patriotism in the people, by getting the people to think that they were actually establishing their own country, but what they were really doing was just fighting a fake revolution and killing a bunch of British soldiers that were meant to lose. And so they lost, and that gave the people the impression that they established their own country. But they're really the people who, George Washington and Ben Franklin, the people who were cheering them on and leading them to beat the British, are actually British themselves. And the bank owners and the business owners are still British, and of British descent. So, and they're still working for the British. So, again, the British still owns the world, and what they want to do, what they've been doing basically, is they give people the impression that the world is a certain way, that the world is just nothing, that the world is just the way it is. They give people some sort of vague connotation, philosophy of the world, that the world is just dead, a bunch of pieces, physics, a bunch of pieces and parts hitting each other like atoms. But the world really is much different. And so we live in a world controlled by evil people who want to rule humanity. And those evil people are controlled by reptiles, and those reptiles are controlled by archons, confirmation burp, who want to steal our energy as people, as humans. So that's kind of the world we live in. All the countries, all the westernized countries are ruled by the reptiles. And so they're watching you. They're watching me. And but people are waking up, and the reason why I woke up was because the world is waking up. And what they're trying to do right now is establish a one world government, and with COVID and everything, they're slowly closing the clamps on people. They're putting everybody to sleep so that once they establish the one world government, everybody's just going to go with it. Nobody's going to care. Everybody's going to be unconscious. They'll be like, okay, as long as I'm safe. Nobody's going to give a shit because they get people not to care about their own lives. And so the awakening population like me and you are the ones who are supposed to fight against this and win the fight against the establishment, which is trying to establish a one world government and control us all and then kill us all. And they want to do a big war or a big plague and kill off a lot of the population. And then once that happens, they say, okay, that's it. That's enough. We need to have total order. We need to have total control over this world because if we don't, then everybody's going to die. So everybody's going to be like scared, or they're just unconscious and they're like, okay, in their metaverse goggles. All right, so this is my first video on YouTube, and I'm going to be making more. And it's going to be on philosophy and psychology and just the world at large, and the things that people are afraid to talk about, I'm going to talk about. So you should subscribe to my channel, and I think you're gonna love me. And I love you.